is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I was so going to have more break time than that, I thought. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. And I just want to remind you, Harrisburg Beer and Cigar is having a barbecue on August 31st at 2 p.m. It's Harrisburg Beer and Cigars. It's up on Union Deposit near the Lowe's. And on August 31st at 2 p.m., they're going to have a barbecue. So that's your big chance to get some free food, check out some beer, and more importantly, just go verify the amazing size of the cigar collection that I've told you so much about in the past. Strongly recommend you give it a try. CDL Labor Logistics is seeking experienced, qualified commercial drivers with clean records. Give them a call at 866-293-1880. Again, CDL Labor Logistics. If you have a CDL and you want to drive a truck or do drive a truck, call them 866-293-1880. Tell them Carl sent you. Jim, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger. What's going on?
Hello,
Jim.
Carl.
Hey.
Carl, can you hear me?
I gotcha.
Okay, I'm on a cell. We probably have a little problem here. I have a quick question. I walk my dogs every day, and usually I take two of them.
Okay.
I have them on a leash. If one of them should happen to break away, pull a leash out of my hand, and say attack a human or attack another dog, is there insurance for that sort of thing?
Well, your homeowner's insurance generally covers you for acts of negligence that occur in and around your house or even away from your house, okay?
Okay.
So if you have homeowners or renters insurance, that's the one that will protect you against non-vehicular acts of negligence you commit.
Okay.
Make
All
sense?
Right. That's very good. Thank you.
All right. Good luck.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Keep a hold of those dogs.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll tell you funny. I used to have these two Springer Spaniels, right?
Yeah.
And they're all bad. I mean, they bark at every other dog and blah, 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 blah. They act like they were so bad, they were going to eat every other dog they came across. And one day, this not very large dog, maybe around a little bit bigger than them, but not much, broke off the leash that somebody else had, right?
Yeah.
And they came charging over, and my two Springer Spaniels, who had been so busy going, bah, just cowered down and tried to hide behind me. Yeah. And I said, all right, well, there's the true story. When the other dog's on the leash, you think you're all tough, but now that dog's off the leash, you're going to hide.
Do they still sell spray?
They still what?
Do they still sell spray?
Sell spray?
Spray, the spray on the dog.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
You mean to get rid of them, right? To keep them away?
Well, yeah, like the pepper spray.
Yeah, they still have that kind of stuff, yeah.
Okay, I noticed that those little things that put out electrical shock, they don't sell them in Pennsylvania anymore. For personal protection.
I don't know why they did. Maybe too many people were using them with their kids.
Oh, that'd be good, yeah.
All right.
I'd straighten them out. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. 540-0580. You want to talk about the Durgan show? Who have I got here? I don't have a name on 3, Shane. Jeff. Jeff.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, how are you?
Fine. Hey, I'm maybe only one vote, but I hope you get the Durgan show. It's funny. I didn't hear you do it on Monday, but that wasn't a big deal to me because I've heard you plenty of times, so you didn't need to audition for me.
I
heard some of the other guys, and that's fine. But I don't want to be hitting, jabbing at the other folks. But let me ask you, would it help if somebody like myself or my wife notified WHP of our favorite, or is that are the suits going to just decide and the people can just live with it?
Well, the suits claim that the people's prerogative carries some weight. Okay.
Okay.
So they set up an email. It's afternoons@WHP580.com.
Okay.
For people to weigh in at. Now, let me say two things. First of all, if you didn't hear the Monday show, there's a podcast of it somewhere. And I would never tell you to subject yourself to it, but I would tell you this. One of the things I did differently for the quote Carl Rominger show was to not talk about law. And so we did take one traffic ticket question, but I know that the suits don't want 15 hours of law a week, okay?
No, I don't think anybody would. I mean, I'm interested in the law, but not everybody is.
Yeah, and so I specifically stayed away from talking about law as a rule. We talked about hr2 and we talked about the DEA, which I'm going to talk about that in a minute here. The DEA spying and covering up and lying in court, which broke that day in the news. Another one of these rights abuses by our great federal government. We talked about we had a girl come on named Melissa who did a little news reading. Because here's my take. My understanding of what they're looking for is a talk show, but they want to work in a little more maybe levity and a little more I call it TMZ material or pop culture. I think was the term the suits used.
Yeah.
And so we had her call in and do some news reading, including a story about a dog, which we posted on Facebook that had savaged its owner in a particularly humorous but tragic way. Yeah. And some other things. So it was a lot of fun. But I said to RJ, I said, I'm going to do a show, and I'm not going to do, this may not be exactly what I would do if you guys wanted, if you gave me the show, but I'm going to show you ideas of things I would like to do. One thing I would do if I had the show that would be law related, I wanted to do, if they gave me the show once a week, I would do a court. And I thought about just maybe an hour segment where we let like you and one of your buddies call in over a dispute, maybe real, maybe imagined, I don't care. And you each present the sides of your case, and then I line up a little jury of callers who then deliberate your fate, and then we render judgment. I think it would be kind of like a fun little,
yeah, that would be. And, people have to understand, I'm sure many do, maybe many don't, and I don't know you. We've never met, but I know enough about you that if you're a lawyer, you had more than just law courses in your education. So, I mean, you got to be fairly well-rounded to get through law school, medical school, or any other school for that matter.
I pride myself on, I've got the Wall Street Journal here with me. I pride myself on trying to read at least a newspaper a day, following a lot of stuff on the internet, eschewing sleep as much as possible. But, and I like to hunt, and I like to fish, and I like to do the outdoor stuff, which I was actually kind of excited that Mike Parker has his hat in the ring because he'd be a great host for this show as well. Actually, a lot of Newman would be cool, too, although I was just thinking about poor Newman's not going to be able to hang out with all the Jason Aldeans of the world anymore if he takes this show. When you get this show, you get to you get to talk to the Department of Gaming guy or something. You don't get to hang out with all the fun country celebrities. But
well, I don't want to see you in a cowboy hat with
yeah, I don't wear hats as a
rule.
Not
that I'm against cowboy hats, but I mean, you're going to have to come up with something different than that if you get it.
Yeah.
But I certainly hope you do. I just wondered if there was a place to voice my.
Yep, that's afternoons at WHP580.com.
Okay, well, I wish you the best. I know when I talked to my wife about it, I said, man, I don't think Carl will get it because being a lawyer, maybe he won't be around as much or whatever. But I said to her, well, I'm sure he's got that figured out or he wouldn't have his hat in it. Well,
yeah, I would have to, listen, I would have to go to court a lot less, and I would just change my practice around a little bit. But that doesn't mean we couldn't still service a lot of clients and help people. But because it's an afternoon
other people in your firm. I mean, it's not like it's just you, and I understand that. But just in closing, I'll let you go here. I know you probably have other callers there. I just know there's people out there thinking, all right, that's Carl's brother, or it's a brother-in-law or somebody in the
Thanks,
family
Dad.
or whatever. Boy, that was cheap and sleazy. Well, listen, folks, we've never met or whatever. Talked on the phone a few times, and my vote's for Carl for whatever it's worth. And thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
540-058. I got to go to break. Well, I'm back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580. We'll finish out the hour here answering your legal questions. So you got plenty of time, but that doesn't mean wait till the very end. It's 6 guys try to call with 2 minutes left to go. Only one person's going to get half an answer, so that doesn't seem like a great idea. So 540-0580. Alice, you're on the air.
Yes. My son was married to a woman for about 2.5 years, and she had a child. She was about 3 years old when she came, and he wanted to adopt her, and they had known each other for 15 years from a long-distance relationship, but they were friends. And they were, she said he wanted to adopt her, but she said, why don't you just sign the birth certificate, and we won't have to pay the expense, you know. So she was from the Nashville area, so when they went down there, he signed the birth certificate. Well, then they were divorced, and I think she wanted alimony for about 6 months, and you know, a new car and all. So she's back in that area. And he signed the birth certificate, but she did not want any child support for her child when she left. And then after he paid some alimony for about 6 months to her, he gets the order from the court down there to pay child support. And everybody knew that he's not the father, but because his name on the birth certificate, I guess she applied for welfare.
Right. Well, when he signed the birth certificate, he essentially signed what we call an acknowledgement of paternity.
Yes.
And so once you acknowledge paternity, it's very difficult to undo unless you can show fraud. And if you knew you weren't the father at the time you signed the acknowledgement, then there really isn't any fraud, is there?
No, there isn't, but I don't know if the courts knew this.
Right, but and this is all happening, down Tennessee?
Yes.
So I couldn't even tell you. I could tell you a little bit about the Pennsylvania law in the area, and I can tell you that basically, at least in Pennsylvania, if you acknowledge paternity and there's no fraud, meaning no one's lied to you about it. So if a woman says to me, Carl, that's your baby, and she lies to me and I can prove she lied to me, then I have an issue.
Right.
But if she says, well, it's not really your baby, but I would like you to be the father, and I go, well, okay.
Yeah.
There's no fraud.
Yes.
There may not be any brilliance going on either, but love is a cruel mistress.
Yes. Well, he contacted a lawyer in that area and paid the money, and they, I guess, thought he might have a case. They sent the letters to the father. They know where he is, and to his ex-wife, and wanted them to have a DNA test, you know, and for her, for the child, and for the father, and for my son himself. And he would pay for that, but they've not responded to the letter. And they can't enforce this, but I don't know if he can threaten them with a court order to have he's paying money to the lawyer, sight unseen.
Right.
He got the lawyer over the internet. And
I don't know, so we're going to have to let the lawyers down there figure it out, because the law down there is outside my purview.
Yes, okay, but I didn't think he had much of a chance. But
up here would be a problem. Down there, I don't know.
Right.
Okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions. Feel free to chime in. Mary, you're on the air.
Yes, I'd like to give my opinion of you being during the week.
You want to give your opinion to me? Do I want to hear it?
Well, first of all, you'd be good because you're a libertarian. So you're not a demo, you're not a Republican.
Right.
You're kind of live and let live. However, I see you more as a weekend kind of guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just can't see that. But then another advantage is you wouldn't have to say, get Rominger on the phone.
That's true. I'd be right here.
You're right.
I might start my own segment called Get Durgan on the Phone.
Well, I was thinking maybe you could say, get my mother on the phone.
That's right. Well, my mom, we called Mom on Monday, right? And I did get her on the phone. Did you hear the show Monday?
I did.
So,
and you're fantastic. I mean, let me say that.
Well, thank you. Well, she did. I laughed, though, because, see, my mom doesn't, I was trying to say to her, like, come on, Mom, get on the air and be crazy or whatever. She's just very serious,
Well, I was going to call in and say, when you thought she wasn't going to call in.
Yeah.
I was going to say, well, I'll be a surrogate mother.
Surrogate mother. I appreciate that. But no, she's like, well, I'm getting to that age where I'm worried that I need my health care and they're not going to give it to me. And I'm like, she's perfect because that's exactly a very real fear.
Oh, yes, it is.
And so, of course, I told my brother, because here's the epilogue to this story. So let me give the listeners the setup. I get Mom on the air. We talk a little bit about Obamacare or whatever. I say, what do you think about it? And she doesn't really give an opinion. She just expresses her deepest fear, which is that in socialized medicine, they will deny care based on cost, based on age, etc. And so she's figuring as she gets up there in years, they're going to tell her someday, sorry, we got to put you down. You're not entitled to health care anymore because of your age.
I know, and a lot of people listening can relate with that.
And right, and so I tell my brother that, and my brother goes, well, did she tell you the story about her aunt in Canada who didn't get the surgery? And I'm like, no, she didn't get that far. She must have forgot about it. She's gone senile. But,
right. So, but Carl, I do wish you, if you want the gig, I wish you good luck. But in a way, I'd rather see you on the weekends.
Well, you know what? I like coming in here on Saturdays. I miss. It does kill your Saturday in some respects, right? I mean, in terms of it just sucks up the middle of the day. But I don't mind that so much. But if I did the show all week, I would definitely not come in on Saturdays anymore.
Well, I know, and see, you talk to a different brand of person on the weekend.
It's true.
Everybody's home from work. They ought to give you another hour.
I agree. They should probably just give me, the other time slot that I listen to that I wouldn't mind doing, just because I'm not a big sleeper, and so I'm not ready to do a UFO show, so I got to get on a little earlier than midnight. But the 9 to 12 slot would be perfect for me.
There you go. That would be great, and because I do watch I do listen to Coast to Coast.
I said for the midnight to 3, I'd have to talk about UFOs, and I'm not ready to go that far yet.
Well, anyhow, good luck, and I hope to keep hearing you.
Well, thank you, Mary. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. 540-0580. Oh, we're going to get Jerry on the phone here. Oh, you're still screening him, Shane? Tell Jerry to get that question ready. Jerry, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hello, Carl.
Yep.
Hi. I have a question, okay?
I guessed you did. Correctly guessed you did. I get 1 point for that. Go ahead.
Yes, you do. I have a felony conviction, and I know that I'm not allowed to own firearms. But I was wondering, where do air guns fit into that? Like BB guns, pellet guns, things like that?
I don't think they're considered firearms, as I understand it, but I could be dead wrong. And so what I'm going to have to do is research that. And how I'm going to research that is during the break at 2:30 when we get up on it here, okay?
Okay.
What I will do is check it out, and I will give you the answer when we come back from break.
All right.
So if you just listen to the show, crack a cold one, I'll have the answer for you.
Okay.
All right, boss.
Thank you very much.
540-058. I want to remind you, if you need to liquidate an estate or business, I recommend you call RJ Gold Auctions. He can buy outright or sell your items at auction. RJ Gold can be reached at 645-0061. That's 645-0061. He purchases, that's RJ, not RJ Harris, but RJ Gold. He purchases outright items such as medals, pins, patches, tokens, awards, and badges, and most historical collectibles. He can pay you right away. RJ Gold, 645-0061. He's on 6th Street in Harrisburg. Plan to attend RJ's awesome auction Sunday, August 25th, 1 p.m. at the American Legion in Harrisburg. And again, that's August 25th. That's a Sunday at 1 p.m. at the American Legion in Harrisburg. RJ's awesome auctions. Shane, put me on now. I want to go out and check this auction out. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll go. PA licensed auctioneer AU005798. I'm actually going to be the shill. I'm going to bid people up just to make RJ's day. No, not really. That'd be illegal. So no, I would not do that. RJ Gold, 645-0061. Also, don't forget the exciting Harrisburg Beer and Cigar Barbecue, August 31st at 2 p.m. I'll be there as well. And remind you about that. And okay, who else do I have left? Mark, you're on WHP 580. Hey, Mark.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. Question for you.
Yep.
I married a woman about 15 years ago, and her daughter never became my legally adopted daughter. She's simply her child, and I'm acting as her father day to day. So
you are what we call stepdad.
Right, although not legally. Legally, I suppose I have no claim, and she has no claim against any property of mine.
Yeah, stepdads are not legal caregivers. I mean, they're so you haven't adopted this child.
Correct.
So you are just a stepdad. Okay.
So what I'm wondering is, should I ever run into any money, or if I would die and my estate would have to be disposed of, would that little girl who's now 21, not a little girl anymore, would she have any claim to any of my property, or how could I ensure that she would have a claim to any of my property? And if I did not have a will, would that any of that property go to her if the state had to deal with it or something?
No. It would not go to her without a will.
So would it be in my best interest to name her in a will or adopt her as an adult?
Either way works, but if you adopt her, the tax rate will fall from 15% to 4.5%.
Ah, so that would definitely be a benefit to doing so.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, see, that's the trick. So I had a will one time that said the grandkids are to get. Well, there were 4 grandkids, but 2 are step-grandkids. Guess what? Step-grandkids ain't grandkids. Guess who wrote the will? Not a lawyer. Go figure. 540-0580. We'll get back from the break. I'll take more of your questions. Well, BB guns do not fit the federal definition of Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
So before I take your firearms question, I was just going to say BB guns do not fit the definition of a federal firearm, okay?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet. And under state law, as I understand it, I don't think they meet the definition of firearm under Pennsylvania law, which is actually more restrictive than the federal definition of firearm. So I think a felon in Pennsylvania could have a BB gun.
Hey, did you just say state or state?
State.
Sounded like you said state.
I don't know. Anyhow, how are you?
I can't complain, my friend. Well, actually, I can, but I won't. But anyway, yeah, I could. What about you?
I'm good. I'm just, enjoying my Saturday show, having a little fun with it. Shane demoed some new crazy commercial that calls me the most interesting lawyer in the world, which I think is very funny. I don't know if you heard that or not. We'll have to play it at some point here.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got a question for you here, something that I think has a lot of people outraged. Now, if you're a good little goody two-shoe law-abiding citizen and then you go get your permit to conceal and this and that and, the Second Amendment and blah, 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 what in the world is the glitch or the problem when you go to these other states that do not respect your constitutional right to carry? For example, if you go into New Jersey, New York, all of a sudden you're in a different world. What is up with that crap?
Well, they use their restrictions based on state law, and the U.S. Supreme Court has said that while the Second Amendment does allow for an individual right to own a firearm for self-defense,
right,
it can still be regulated.
Well, that's a bunch of hogwash.
Well, and that's the issue, and the question is, in some areas they're trying to make the regulations so onerous that while you may have a right, you can't exercise it in any practical way.
See, that's what's wrong with the politicians, because I'm sure you would look at it the way that I would, and you're a libertarian, and I would call myself, more of the conservative side. Is that, look,
right,
if you want to pack heat because you're going away with your family to some vacation spot, and that state says, well, you can't have your firearms with, I'm thinking, well, who the hell are you? That's not right. You know what I mean?
Right, but that's the beauty of 50 states is you have all these different issues, and where one drug. I'll give you an example. There are some states that said that open carry is preferable to concealed carry. Pennsylvania thinks that it's better to concealed carry than open carry.
I got the element of surprise.
Policy decision. So I don't know what to tell you except that hopefully, people have been successfully using the U.S. Supreme Court to beat up on D.C. and Chicago, and hopefully they'll continue to do it, and those places keep pushing back.
Yeah, but here's my question. But you're saying that based on this Mickey Mouse state crap law is that the Second Amendment, you can bear arms, this and that, you can conceal, depending on what state, blah, blah, blah. But then if you go into another state and you are still a law-abiding citizen, then the law is going to make you a criminal.
Well, right, and that's because the laws in every state are different. And so that's the problem when you leave the sovereign, you go to the other sovereign, you're under their regime. And I'll give you an example. I mean, some states allow convicted felons to own weapons, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Pennsylvania does not. And federal law says that in the states that make it possible for a felon to own a weapon, that federal law doesn't prohibit it because it lets the state law trump, okay?
Uh-huh.
So here in Pennsylvania, we're more restrictive with who we let own guns than some other states. So
Right.
we don't seem to feel like we're violating anybody's Second Amendment rights.
I think the mobster politicians have done a good job restraining possible other mobsters from going state to state. To a degree. I mean, it's really Mickey Mouse. Now, we're not, and I'll end on this note. No, seriously, you're going on vacation with your family somewhere, and you see, oh, the state I want to go to, they don't honor my reciprocity from the state I'm from. Well, I wouldn't go there. I mean, what a crock of crap. That's not, how do you figure, and especially, we can go further. There's no felony. They were never convicted. They're a law-abiding citizen, and the law-abiding citizen becomes a lawbreaker because, in my opinion, of those idiotic politicians passing that type of crap.
No, I understand. I understand, my friend.
All right, I'm irritated now.
I can't change it.
All right, take care.
All right, bye. 540-0580. John, I know I've been waiting for your call here. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, Carl?
Good.
Yeah, I have a property question for you.
Yeah.
About 15 years ago, I owned a property that I was putting up a fence, so I had a survey done. And as a result of the survey, I found that my property extended about 7 feet onto the neighbor's yards.
Uh-huh.
There's like 3 row houses that are affected. So at the time, I knew the neighbors, and I just didn't want to make an issue of it. I put up my fence on the existing property lines. But I'm getting to a point where I need the room, and I want to see what the approach would be to reclaim that space, if there's a way to do it, or to see what the procedure would be for that.
How long has your fence been up?
About 15 years.
Okay. So, yeah, other people have been using your property on the other side of the fence, but the fence has been up less than 21 years, okay? That's important, because once that fence is up 21 years, the other side can say, hey, I thought that we consented to a boundary under the doctrine of consentable boundaries, okay?
I see.
Or the other side could say, we've adversely possessed this land because I've been using it for 21 plus years, okay?
Okay.
So what you would need to do is basically take the fence down and do your resurvey or use your survey if you still have the stakes and everything to say, here's my property line and I'm moving my fence into it. Now, this may cause some grief from the other folks, but I don't think... You historically had that land, right?
Well, I had the survey done soon after I purchased the property.
Okay.
So people had been using it in that fashion for longer than I've owned the property.
So the other way to do it, and we just don't know whether those people are going to assert adverse possession, right?
Right.
So you could do 2 ways. One is you can approach the neighbors with a letter that simply says, here's my survey, and this land is actually mine. And I'm going to move my fence and claim it and have them sign something consenting to it. If they're not willing to consent to it, you can then file a lawsuit called quiet title, basically, to say, here's my survey, and I want the survey and move this fence over, and I just want it clear that this is all my land and nobody else has a claim to it. Okay.
Okay.
But if they don't defend, then you can default them. If they defend, they're going to have to come forward and assert adverse possession, and maybe they can. And if they can, then you may have to pay them off. But interestingly, what they're fighting over probably isn't very valuable, right?
No, well, they're small yards, but it's only a small amount of space. It's about 7 feet onto the back, 7 by 13, like 21 feet on each yard. But another fly in the ointment is there's a common alleyway. So my fence lines up with this common alleyway, so I'd have to see what the provision would be for that. How would that be handled?
Right, because if the common alleyway may be a right-of-way that you can't block, right?
Yeah, there's currently, it is currently blocked. The neighbors have it blocked, but they have a gate there.
Mm-hmm.
So if I move my fence, I could put a gate on my property, and it would be the same type of blockage that exists now.
Gotcha. Interesting. So, again, somebody else could assert that there. All right?
Okay. Hey, well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
All right, John. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
A lot to think about there. 540-0580. Devin, you're on the air. Hey, Devin.
Hey, Carl, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
Hey, I have a trapping of animal question regarding discharge of a firearm within a borough limit. I know it's illegal to do so, but how do I go about disposing of this animal?
Well, here's what's interesting. There's a court case that says that prohibitions on hunting and shooting don't trump the game laws. Okay? And under the trapping law, I'm pretty sure it allows specifically for the dispatching of the animal with a firearm.
Okay, so you're saying just a small caliber 22?
Yeah, I'll give you an example. Yeah, I'll give you an example. This is the kind of typical example. There's a borough that doesn't allow hunting or doesn't allow shooting, okay? But portion of the borough is wooded, and you can safely shoot in there without violating a safety zone. The courts have said that the game law trumps there, and that the local ordinances don't apply.
Safety zone. I mean, where I live, houses are very close together. I'm very aware of safety zone laws and things like that, but there's real no way to be a safety zone in the suburb that I'm in.
You can't shoot in the safety zone. So here's the next problem. So now for trapping, I don't know. There may be another overlay there, but I'm going to ask a much more practical question. Having done a lot of trapping over the years when I was younger, and having been a licensed, believe this or not, a licensed nuisance control officer for the state of New York when I was a teenager, what kind of animal are you trapping?
Well, just a groundhog that's under my shed, or a skunk that's under my shed.
Okay. Well, if you're trapping him, a skunk, okay, you're not going to want to shoot the skunk anyhow. So what kind of trap are we using?
Just a live trap.
Live trap, okay.
Live trap.
You get a skunk in a live trap, all you need to do is throw a tarp or blanket over it, okay?
And then what?
And then what? Right. Well, then what? Well, you're going to have to figure out how you want to dispatch that guy. And I give you a lot of suggestions. I know people have used various methods. A lot of times with skunks, they actually euthanize them with something. Now, that said, groundhog, same idea. You could probably catch and release him, take him to some poor farmer's field, I guess. But my thought on the matter is you probably won't be privileged to shoot him under those circumstances. But more importantly, don't shoot a skunk in a live trap. Trust me on this.
Gotcha.
He'll give you one last gift.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Yeah, if I start talking about how you drown them, I'm sure somebody's going to call in and tell me you can't do that or something. But there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak. Bill, you're on WHP 580. What's going on?
Hello?
Yep.
This is Bill. My question is about guns. My sister and brother-in-law have concealed carry permits. Occasionally my sister gets scatterbrained and leaves a gun in their glove box. I'm out by myself driving her car. I don't have a concealed carry permit. What kind of effect can that have?
Well, there's three things that work in your favor here. One is you got to get pulled over, right?
Correct.
So let's assume that finally does happen. Number two, why are you telling the police that there's a gun in the car, right? You don't have to answer any questions. You don't have to let them search. You don't have to acknowledge anything. But let's assume for some reason they decide they want to search your car. Here's number three.
Okay.
Hey, do you know anything about this gun in the glove box? Well, I recognize the gun. I wouldn't be answering questions for the police myself, but you could say, I recognize the gun. Well, how do you recognize the gun? Well, this belongs to my relative. They must have left it in the car. They have a concealed carry permit. I wish they hadn't have done that because I wouldn't have taken the car if I'd known they left it in here.
Okay.
I think you're okay there. But if you say absolutely nothing, you're probably okay, too. Okay. In fact, I've even had felons not to possess where there's a gun in the glove box that get pulled over. And the police have a really hard time convicting them of anything because you've got to prove that you knew the gun was in the glove box.
Okay.
And how do you prove that somebody knew there was a gun in the glove box? Well, I guess you get their fingerprints off it, or they make a stupid roadside statement acknowledging its existence. Mm-hmm. But if they're real clever, they just look the police officer, and when he asks questions, they say, I want to invoke my right to remain silent. And
I believe that's 75. I don't know. I feel kind of like I should speak to him.
Well, right. But at the same time, if you knew it was there, then you are kind of possessing it when you're not supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So acknowledging you knew it was there was a problem. I think acknowledging that you know whose gun it is and that you believe they left it there. And of course, there is also this whole concept under the law that you still have to have the intent. Okay. So if you don't know it's there and you forgot to check, then you don't have the requisite intent. Therefore, you're not guilty. But that doesn't mean a prosecutor might not try to persuade a jury of something different. Okay?
Okay, one other thing. You got my vote.
Well, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. 540-0580. See you after the break. Oh, boy. Well, I'm going to take one from Facebook here for a minute. Robert wants to know, hi, Carl, I have a question. The other day, a friend of mine was either behind or starting to pass a tractor-trailer when the trailer's tires blew. The tire debris, we call them gators, proceeded to take out the front end of her car. She wasn't hurt, but her brand-new Scion TC that she bought about 2 months ago was damaged. I'm paraphrasing now, but a $500 deductible that her insurance company wants her to pay. Is that right? Well, here's the answer. If she's collecting it through her insurance, the answer is yes. She only gets her insurance less the $500 deductible. Now, if the other party was negligent, the tractor-trailer driver, and their insurance can be implicated, then they would pay back her insurance plus pay her $500 deductible. So I'm assuming she may not have even figured out who the truck is, and therefore, while she may have a cause of action to say, you should have known your tire was defective or going to fall apart, and that's a whole open question as to whether you would even know that or not. The truck driver may simply be able to say, I didn't know the tire was going to explode. That's not my fault. Therefore, I have no duty to protect you against it because I had no notice that this was going to happen. But let's assume for a moment you could get to the truck driver. Well, you still have to find the truck driver. So if it's a phantom truck, what we mean by phantom truck is the truck that nobody knows who it was or where it went, and therefore there's nobody to blame. She may have a lawsuit without recourse. Therefore, she's still going to be out those $500. I hope that helps, Robert. 540-0580. Stuart, you're on the air, Stuart.
Hello, sir. I just recently put in my renewal for a Pennsylvania permit to carry, York County. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions, yes or no, was, do I own any other state carry permits? Why is that a question?
I don't know. That's not a question that I think is a mandatory or routine question. That must be a York County Sheriff question.
Okay.
And I don't know why they want to know that.
Yeah.
But my position would be that may be irrelevant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then here on the other hand, I know when you go to a gun show in Pennsylvania, a lot of times they'll have classes to get Florida permit to carries. And here just 2 weeks ago, Mr. Zimmerman was stopped in Texas and had a pistol in his glove box that he told this Texas state trooper was there.
Right.
And it was acceptable for him to have that. So is that Texas thing a better permit to carry? Is it more extensive?
Well, there's a website you can go to that shows the reciprocities between the various. If you look it up, just look at reciprocity, concealed carry permit or carry permit, and you Google it and you'll find it, and it shows you which states have reciprocity with which other states.
Yeah.
I think Texas is. I don't know if he had a Texas permit or a Florida or just his Florida permit, but Texas is.
He's a resident of Florida, right?
Yeah.
That's where he lives.
Yeah, but Texas is a very permissive state when it comes to handguns and self-defense. In fact, I had a friend who's a lawyer who worked in Houston for a while, and his joke was that you could pretty much shoot anybody you wanted as long as you promised to clean up the mess afterwards, because their self-defense law is very, very broad.
Okay.
They also give the death penalty in Texas more than anywhere else in the union, too. So anyhow, my point being is Texas is a great state to be in.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then you have no idea why they ask if I add on any other person?
I don't know. I mean, they may be asking simply because they're trying to put it into some master database. They may just be snooping. The sheriff may have just thought somehow that was a relevant question. Or more importantly, and I think here's what they really want to do, right? Okay, If I deny you for some reason, then I'm going to contact that state and tell them why you shouldn't have a permit.
I see.
That's probably the number one reason it's in there. And then later, if you get in trouble in York and the York sheriff wants to strip you of a permit, he'll send one of his official letters over to try to hassle you somewhere else.
Okay.
All right?
Well, thank you much. I certainly, as an American, appreciate my right to do that.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
All right. Take care. 540-0580. Steve, you're on the air.
Hi, Carl. I love the show, by the way. Just want to ask you, my son was killed in a car accident in June.
Okay.
I got a copy of the police report, and in the police report it said that he was under the influence of illegal drugs.
Right.
So in the meantime, I'm trying to get a coroner's report / toxicology report, which is 6 weeks old. So in the police report, how could they say that?
Right. How could they come to that conclusion before they get the toxicology report back?
Correct.
It wouldn't be the first inaccuracy in a police report we've discovered.
Okay.
I had a wrongful death case years ago, and they had, I say they, meaning the police had indicated that my client was going, maybe 80 miles an hour in a 55 mile an hour zone when the accident happened. And the parents really didn't believe that was possible because they didn't think their son was a speeder. And of course, in my mind, I sort of put in the back of my head that most parents don't think their kids do anything wrong, right? So who knows? But then eventually when we retrieve the black box, so to speak, from the airbag system, it shows speeds. And what it showed, not only was he going the speed limit, but he actually had slowed down on the approach to the intersection. He had the green. And it was one of these intersections back in the day where there was just stop on each side, and it's a 55 mile an hour zone straight through. And he actually had let off the gas about 3 seconds before and slowed down to about 48 miles an hour or so as he approached into the intersection. And the irony was, not only was he not speeding, but he was driving incredibly well when the accident happened. So my point on that is just that, yeah, it wouldn't be the first time that the police jumped to a conclusion in a report based on who knows what.
Okay.
All right?
All righty, thank you.
All right, boss. Thank you. Sorry about your loss.
Hey, thanks, man.
All right, take care.
You too.
540-0580. George, you're on the air.
Hi, Carl. How are you?
Good.
Calling you about an incident that kind of walked on this morning when I went to mow the grass at one of my rental properties to find that a contractor replacing the sewer on the neighboring property had, without ever contacting me, just driven over my property with heavy equipment, torn up the lawn, and proceeded to do what he was going to do, including probably ripping 50% of the roots off of a tree.
Right.
That maybe he had to do, I don't know, but it's a tree that's between the curb and the sidewalk that I'm mandated as the property owner to preserve forever. I did call the police, get a police report done just because I wanted to document it, and I thought that kind of was on the level of criminal trespass.
Uh-huh.
And the officer says, well, I don't really think it rises to that level. So I'm debating what's my next step. I mean, there is a police report, they've said, and when the officer contacted the supervisor, he said, well, we tried to we contacted him because of an agreement with a sewer line here, and I was never contacted, and there's no reason I'd be involved in an agreement with a neighbor's sewer line because I'm not connected to it. So I'm debating what should be my next step, because my biggest concern is that the tree dies, and I end up with $500 to take it down, another couple $100 to get a new one planted and take care of it, watering it for a year.
So let me summarize really quick.
Okay.
So make sure I have the facts right. Neighbor has issue, contractor comes to fix neighbor's issue, not yours.
Right.
In the course of coming out, he rolls over your land and damages a tree that's on your property.
Well, actually, in terms of doing the excavation to replace the sewer line is probably where he did the damage to the tree. Now, he did bark some of the roots coming up over it, getting in with his equipment.
But you think he may have killed some roots to the tree?
Oh, I'm sure he cut off a lot of roots.
Gotcha. Well, that's an interesting question. What's the order of priority here? I mean, I guess you got to fix the sewer, right?
Well, yeah, I agree.
Is there a way? Would there have been? And so the next question would a reasonably prudent contractor have been able to avoid damage to the tree somehow? That's possible. I don't know. But it seems to me that, yeah, to the extent he's not privileged to go on your land, and he's not privileged to destroy your stuff. So you may have a lawsuit down the road. Keep documenting it, and maybe the tree will survive and everybody will live happily ever after.
Well, yeah, I'd be happy with that. I just don't want to get stuck with the bill for what somebody else did.
Got it. So document it, and then down the road you might be able to bring a claim against him. I can't tell you a better answer than that. Don, I'm sorry I missed you. The office number is 241-6070, 241-6070. If you need me through the week, 241-6070.